All right, so in a quick recap for people who have not been paying attention of the burning dumpster fire that is Korean Maplestory. Basically, a few years ago, they realized KMS was not being truthful when it came to what is RNG, what does RNG mean, because when you say it's random, typically that implies that there is, randomness as in equal weight between all the possible outcomes and you don't know which one it's going to be. However, it seemed that Maplestory applied the term random whenever the outcome was uncertain, even if there was weighting involved. And because of recent developments in laws, in online laws, especially in Korea where gaming is much more prevalent and a mainstay in even like a government issue that people talk about, everyone has had to disclose more and more whenever there's an RNG system, how does RNG system work exactly, and what the odds are of all the outcomes if they are not, if they are weighted. And now with the test server in Korea, a bunch of Korean players started testing a whole bunch of stuff because they have unlimited resources there, right? And they don't have to spend real money. And they found that a lot of systems were able to be manipulated. And as a result, KMS director came out with an official statement saying that yes, they did find that they were manipulatable, and for the last however many years, and that people just assumed that things were just kind of coincidental or that there was just something weird going on, but apparently a lot of stuff was basically rigged. So with all that said, a lot of Korean players were very, very upset, and even when compensation was announced, that we went over as well in previous videos, people thought it was not enough, or that it doesn't make up for the fact that they got lied to for the last, in some cases, like up to 10 years of how long they've had flames in Korea. So there was been a major exodus. Many people selling off their items, selling off their accounts, even for real money, which typically in Korea doesn't happen that much, because people do tend to kind of play by the rules a little bit more there, just to completely jump ship and probably go to another cash grab RNG simulator mobile game that is probably going to treat them about the same. But maybe those will play by the rules a little bit more, so they will know how hard they're getting screwed over when they're throwing their money at it, rather than the implication that it's going to be equally weighted when it's not. So that's kind of the situation we're at right now. And now there was another dedicated apology from Kang Won-ki, or Won-ki Kang, wherever you're from, about it, because of course they're losing insane player base in Korea, and this might seem a little bit far away from us, like why does the player base in Korea, like revolting like crazy, matter for us? The thing is that Korean Maplestory is way bigger than global Maplestory, and we're playing in global, and the thing is that if Korea would end up making like major losses, and global has been making a loss since its inception, it's possible that the last quarter, or maybe the last 2 quarters of 2020 were the first quarters that ever didn't make a loss, Nexon wise, for global Maplestory. So there is like a threat or a chance, however you want to word it, that GMS might shut down operations in the global area if they need to, have more, be able to compensate for those losses on Nexon's on Maplestory's side in Korea. There is like uncertainty in all of that on how they're going to react with all of that, of course. So we are keeping an eye on it just to see like what's going on there, because it can have some downstream effects for us, for operations, and maybe for the game existing or not. Because it's not, global Maplestory is not huge, right? I mean, it's biggest now that it's probably ever been, because of COVID, because of quarantine, et cetera, et cetera. But in Korea, it's really dropping off. So let's read the letter. This is Maplestory Director Kang Won-ki. I apologize to the many people who are dedicated to Maplestory. So if you're not dedicated, he's not sorry. During Maplestory's long service, many incidents have occurred. It's hard to say we have already responded the best way, but at the very least, we have tried to respond to incidents under the principle of apologizing for our mistakes and giving appropriate compensation. However, this time we were afraid of the unprecedented consensus, which we had never experienced before, and we were afraid of the unprecedented consensus. And because of this, we continued to make decisions in a direction that did not match the desire of our customers who love Maplestory. Basically, like, we tried to compensate you, but you didn't like it. I want to sincerely apologize about our poor decision that I have made regarding this additional options incident, and I would like to speak honestly about my previous decisions and when I was wrong about them. Okay, so this is like, this might be like a pet peeve for this is a pet peeve for me. I don't know how you guys feel. Maybe if you're a native English speaker, it's different. But when someone says, I want to apologize, then I'm be like, okay, bring on the apology. But it seems that verbally, when people hear, I apologize, they take that as being an apology. But I apologize means that I'm going to make an apology. And then you have to still make the apology, which is, I'm sorry, right? I'm sorry I fucked up. I'm sorry I did this thing. That's an apology, right? Saying I apologize isn't an apology. That's like you're going to do the action of apologizing. You know, it's like saying I'm paying, but you're not actually giving the money. It's like until you give the money, you're actually paying. But you can say like I'm paying, but that doesn't mean you are, right? So that's kind of how I see it. I don't know if this is like a language thing that is just different interpretations, but I'm expecting to see the word sorry in here, hopefully multiple times. I think Maplestory's long-held live services development inertia is the main reason for this incident, as we have maintained an operating method which provided only minimal information. Lack of transparency, for sure. Since Maplestory official servers began in 2003, a variety of content has been added and many changes have been made to the game systems, but there was no specific guidance on what and how things worked. So, lack of documentation? Therefore, customers were forced to confirm things using their own in-game experiences, and now even in 2021, Maplestory has continued the live service in the same way as before with a oh yeah, the Maplestory is hugely untransparent. A lot of times new people come to the game and they're like, hey, how does this work? And then people are, and a lot of times people are like, well, we have a little bit of data mining information here, we have a little bit of conjecture here, and then we have general just experience here, and we throw them all together, and this is kind of the percentages and the chances and whatever, the gradual way of upgrading stuff so that we tend to converge to, but based on all of these things, but it's all, you know, it's a lot of just like complicated conjecture basically. Yeah, so we apologize for not following a trend. Again, we apologize for, just say we're sorry for, all right? We apologize for seems weak to me. To me, it seems weak. I want to see we're sorry for, like we messed up. We apologize for is like, oh, this is like the bare minimum you can do so that it can be seen as an apology, but it doesn't feel heartfelt. But again, that could be a thing to me. Let me know if you guys feel different about that. If you feel like this, that is the same thing. I don't know. It could be just like interpretation of language. Take a shot whenever they say apologize. Where's my Baileys? Sponsor. Current flow and customers' needs. By not innovating our current methods to provide in-game information. Oh wait, hang on. I missed this part. Since sufficient information was not provided, we weren't considerate of our customers, and we did not flexibly increase the scope of our information that we release. Not only that, it's not about not being considerate. It's also being against the law. It's illegal in a lot of places. I think pretty much everywhere in the EU now, whenever anything is RNG, you have to disclose what all the individual odds are. In Korea, you've had to do that for many, many years. And I'm pretty sure in the US, it's now in law too, I think. I'm not 100% sure. But it's not about like being inconsiderate. It's about being illegal. And that's the huge problem. Because it's not a recent illegal thing, and they've gotten in trouble in Korea for this before, like I mentioned before. So that's why a lot of people are like really, really pissed. We apologize for not following the trends of the current flow of our customers' needs. Again, current trends of the current, the trends of the current flow. You mean following up-to-date legislation is what you mean. But not innovating our current methods to provide in-game information more actively. Before going into specific improvements that we have planned for the future, we'd like to give you the background information on how this incident took place. Might sound like a belated excuse, but I hope that it will help the customer sense of loss a little bit. In the February 18th test world update, so that's the one where they start finding out all the rates, the equalized probability of the types of additional options was our attempt to adjust the difficulty and barrier of entry of additional options. Out of the many enhancement types, additional options were the most difficult. In winter 2012, the additional option system was intended to make it more enjoyable to acquire items that an MMORPG can offer, but the system didn't settle as originally intended. After that 2013 summer, we added powerful Reaver Flames and Eternal Reaver Flames, but they were very hard to acquire and the supply in-game was never enough. In order to increase the supply of Reaver Flames, we added Union coins, so those are our Legion coins. Union is the word for Legion in Korea. and others were determined that without improving the fundamental system, it would be quite difficult to lower the barrier of entry to additional options. Therefore, again, that's not something that's necessary, all right? That's something, if you put a system in the game that's very, very rare to play by, that means that the value of getting something from that is going to be perceived as very, very high, and that can keep itself afloat, right? As soon as you give in to the more equals better mindset, and you're like, well, because it exists in the game, everyone should have access to it. As long as you move it to that, the perceived value of individual upgrades is going to go down, because the ease of access is going to increase. So this is not necessarily something you have to do in a system. This is a conscious choice you make as a game dev to be like, we're going to move in a direction where we make it a more common and accessible part of upgrading. But, that aside. We've got difficult lower barrier of entry. Yeah. Therefore, we chose to remove the difference in probabilities of the types of additional options to reduce the variance of experiences in resetting additional options. However, there was a problem when we were preparing and informing users. First of all, we used the word random out of habit, and embarrassingly, we weren't able to recognize the problem with this and how that's illegal. During the development process, we usually lowered the rates of better options to keep the value of them higher. Yeah, so they basically made things... Yeah. Lowered the rates of better options to keep the value of them higher. So essentially what this sentence means is we made it more rare than average to get good outcomes so that the people who got good outcomes could feel better about having them and therefore show off to other people like, hey, look what I have, it's possible. So that everyone would throw more money at it, but that it would disproportionately take more money and more time and more resources away from them to try to chase the same carrot on a stick because it wasn't as likely to get it as other people's did, right? And they do this in many things, right? The way you have to think about it is like in probabilities. So let's say that if you kill one monster, you get one token, right? And then for 1 million tokens, you can exchange something. This is a way that the item has a very specific value. It is 1 million monster kills, right? And that's what it is, and that's what it will always be. And that way you can very specifically say, this is how much it's worth. But what if you change it instead and you say, hey, you can buy the item for 1 token, but the token has a 1 in a million chance of dropping from a monster. Now, in theory, nothing changed. The value of the item is still the same. But the variance on who is going to get it, how long it's going to take you to get it, and how many someone can get is now astronomically different. Because someone can get lucky and can get 2 of them in 1,000, and this person is like insanely lucky and is like, hey, look what I have, and people can be super jealous of them, and someone else can kill 3 million monsters and not get one yet, and that's still within the standard deviation, and then that person could be just extremely unfortunate and then as a result get no result for their value, right? And these two systems and these two different ways of doing things are even though like theoretically they come out to the same outcome, when it comes to specifically how they treat you and treat your human psyche and how we are wired to just, we're wired to gamble, we're wired to wager some things because we feel like there could be a chance that we're getting something more than maybe is average or that we're entitled to, quote unquote. That will make us feel good if we get it. So that kind of like that dopamine rush of trying to chase it, that is something that inherently kind of moves us towards doing it. And game developers, and this is not just like a Nexon thing or like a Maplestory thing, game developers know this and they play in on a lot of these things. They play in on the fear of missing out. Like, oh, there's going to be an event maybe in 2 weeks. You can get an item that you might not get for another 2 years, so make sure you keep playing. Or they'll drop a certain item and like, oh, you don't know if the item is ever coming back, so make sure you go in. So there's a lot of like psychological things that games play into where it seems like they're giving you something or a chance to gain something, but in return, they're asking a lot of playtime from you. They're asking a lot of mental and time investment of you in return, which, should play out to making them more money along the way, somewhere along the way. So it's very important to look at a system sometimes to be like, well, are they trying to help me as the player? Are they trying to make me stronger or better? Or are they just looking for a way that you can make you feel like you're getting something in return, but they're actually getting more in return? And that's kind of how this whole thing reads, where it's like, oh, we set RNG. Yeah, it was kind of silly. We meant it's not a set outcome. And we forgot to mention that it's like 1% for this, 60% for that and 3% for that. We totally forgot. We just used the word random, and that's our bad. Sorry. No, sorry, not even sorry. We apologize. That's kind of how you, without really being super not disingenuous, but without being you can read it like that. But being uncharitable, you don't have to be very uncharitable to read it like that, because it does really, I think, reasonably read like that. So, going back to the sorry for going off, but I'm kind of like throwing my whole thought process of like games in general and of the whole situation behind it. If you think it's uninteresting, you can like skip through my tirades, I guess, and just read this. I'll link it in the description as well, so you can just read it out for yourself if you want to. Options of different values was systematically determined using preset probabilities and logic, and this was used to describe the process and related expressions. With this in mind, we were thoroughly looking into all expressions and words related to probabilities in game, because we have to, because it's the law. As soon as our investigation is complete, we will let you know what our response will be. Secondly, we had a chance to confirm this error in the existing additional options in advance, but we did not take care of it properly. In July 2019, two customers reported about the relationship between all stat percentage and jump. For the people who haven't been looking at this, look at all of the items you have with flames. So that's additional options, right? It's flames in game, and look at the ones that you have that have all stat percentage on them, and see how many also have jump. It'll be more than half of the items. It'll probably somewhere between like 75 to 85% of your items that have all stat also have jump on the flame. And this heavy correlation ties back to the thing that we talked about before, where they're like, oh, if something already has all stat, that's what a lot of people want, so they made it less common to get a bunch of stat with all stat, and instead jump seemed to be heavily correlated, because that's like ubiquitously shit for everyone. So they could just throw that in and then make sure that the highest possible outcome on those flames doesn't go too crazy, basically. We were not able to determine the error at the time, and as a result, we proceeded to improve the system without complete knowledge about the current system. Currently, we are thoroughly investigating all system logic and specifications, and during this investigation, if there's anything that functions abnormally, we will give a thorough explanation that customers can understand and correct the problem. Finally, we mistakenly thought that since information of the types of additional options, ranks, and probability of each additional option had not been officially revealed until now, it would be difficult to explain where this change was coming from, how it was being improved, and why it was being improved. However, we thought that many customers in the community were already aware of better options appearing relatively less, verified through real gameplay, and so they did not need an explanation for this change. So, okay, I'll read this next part first. However, since there can be variations in the process of experiencing probability systems, there can be variations in the process of experiencing probability systems. Some people get lucky and some people don't. It's like, well, however, we discovered through, multilateral fucking statistical analysis that not every person will end up getting the average outcome. In a huge, shocking turn of events, we have found that not everyone gets average outcome over time. Crazy how that works. Some people can actually end up being lucky over a long period of time, and some can be end up being unlucky. Amazing we say consultation, but that's not a word. Amazing conclusion. We not categorize this change of the additional options as an improvement, but as a correction. Very important for the language there. In conclusion, we made a mistake during the entire process and made the wrongful choice. We apologize. No, we're sorry. We're sorry. We apologize, not apology. Sorry, I'm going to hammer that a lot. If you disagree with that point, then whatever. But I feel like we apologize is weak language. It does not... yeah, we apologize is I was caught, oops. Like, in this case specifically because of the context, if they said we are sorry, it would have the same contextual meaning in my mind. You think it's the same? Yeah. I think from a linguistic point of view, and I'm quite anal about all of that. I do realize more anal than most people. But I do feel that saying, again, like saying I apologize is like saying I'm paying without actually giving them money. Like giving them money is saying I'm sorry. Like, and this is why I'm sorry. This is why I know it was wrong. Like the actual act, and like the apology or apologizing is like the whole concept. But there has to be like a transfer of Does Korean make the distinction of apology? Oh, maybe it was. Yeah, maybe it was translated wrong. That could also be it. Yeah. Because if this guy's like a Korean American, then maybe in, because I've heard it a lot like in NA language where Korean does make a distinction. I think we're sorry is more personalized and we apologize is more formal and professional. Yeah, but I just don't agree that we apologize is an apology. It's like saying I'm asking, but without having a question mark at the end and actually posing a question. Just saying I'm asking. It's like saying you're sorry. I'm asking. I'm asking. It's like, well, ask then. Are you sorry? Like that's the question, right? You're saying I'm asking, but you're not posing a question. It's like the same distinction. Does it make sense what I'm trying to say? But I guess now it's become. Yeah, but if everyone uses it like that, then after a while it loses that distinction, I guess. And then it matters more if people think there's a distinction at all or not. That's probably more important than whether or not I think it from an outside perspective. But in Portuguese, we only distinguish forgive me and I ask you to forgive me. Apologize has the same meaning of sorry? Well, it doesn't, right? Because it's two different words. Two different words always have some kind of different nuance of meaning. Otherwise, there wouldn't be two words for it, right? But do you get what I'm saying, Proxo? Like saying, like an apology is like where you go through like what you did, how it affected someone else, what you plan to do different in the future. Like that's an apology, and part of an apology is like apologizing and saying you're sorry. That's apologizing. Saying I apologize means I am making an apology. It's like the blob of apology, right? And like saying you're sorry is part of the apology. Does that make sense? Maybe it's a Dutch thing. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So with this whole thing, we mistakenly thought this reads like oops. So basically what this reads is like, well, we knew it was weighted the whole time, and we were pretty sure that people use enough flames to realize that it was weighted. So we thought that was enough, where we like didn't really address and didn't really say the percentages and show how it was weighted and show how it was rigged, essentially. But we assumed that because of how many flames people use, they probably figured out that it was rigged already. And we thought, let's not let the sleeping dogs lie. Like we're not gonna get into all of that messy, like it's rigged stuff. Like we're pretty sure that we could just like leave it at that people kind of understood that it was and just let it there go. It's an accepted incorrect use. Yeah, which I am very much against accepted incorrect uses, so you'll just have to agree to disagree with me on that then. I hate accepted incorrect uses. I feel like we should move away from that as a society completely, because I think it's utterly lazy and it devalues the language to a very high extent. If you want to use one word, use one word. If you want to use the other, use the other. Don't conflate two different concepts with each other because it's simpler. But yeah, that's just my opinion though. But yeah, so this feels like this. We apologize. No, it's like we got caught. Yeah, that's what this definitely reads like here. It's like we thought we could get away with it, but people found out and we were fucked. Yeah. We weren't able to fully empathize with customers' feelings. We apologize for the lack of. Oh, what shit? There, apologize again, dude. Of the previous statement that we made. So, as I said before, without determining how severe this incident was, after the update, we were faced with an unexpected opinion of probability manipulation. We thought that if we honestly explained what the error happened, the mistakes we made in detail, and showed the system that used the probability function as intended, then customers would understand. This was also a wrongful decision made by me, and I apologize. Wow. On one hand, during the explanation process, we were afraid of unexpected sensations and were unable to provide a sincere apology to our customers. I was afraid not only criticism of Maplestory, but also Kang Won Ki. I made wrongful decisions, but not sincerely apologizing about not which should have been my first priority. It is late, but I bow my head and apologize. Damn, okay. Bowing his head, that's like a... Is that like a big apology thing? I agree, but so in grace, most people don't know the difference. It's like colloquialism. Yeah, I just severely reject that. But I get it, yeah. But I reject it. Using correct words feels bad, man. I feel like it's way stronger though. Saying I apologize feels like you're keeping it at a distance and you're just like shrugging it off. Saying I'm sorry feels, to me, feels way stronger, like an admittance of actual guilt and admittance of wrongdoing and a realization that you need to change something. That's how I read it, but that could be just completely my personal take. We're afraid of being stigmatized for probability manipulation, and so we took a which happened before, and so we took a stance of fixing an error instead of apologizing. Therefore, we provided compensation. You should always do both. This is just silly. Like, we're gonna fix it instead of apologizing. No, you need to do. We fucked up. Here's how we're gonna fix it. You're right. You're rightfully upset. We fucked up. We deceived you. We're gonna fix it. We're gonna compensate you. Like, you have to do both. To me, oh my god, what is that? Sago de Ribnida. Sagono Ribnida? I apologize, it just sounds like official way to say I'm sorry. It's just a linguistic. Yeah, I think it is too. And I'm like very in my brain, I'm always thinking about like, how do you say things? What are you trying to say? How do you convey meaning? I'm very anal about all that. I know that I'm way more than most people. So to most people, this would just be like complete nonsense discussion and they don't give a fuck. I completely realize that. But to me, it's very important. Apologizing sounds professional. Yeah, but it's a different thing. But it doesn't have to be sorry. You can also say like we deceived you. We messed up. That's like an admittance. Saying you apologize is that you're going to do the thing where you say what you did without actually doing it. You're saying sorry is like the cable company from South Park. Oh, but there isn't any other 2D MMORPG. Oh, we're sorry. Rubs nipples. Yeah. We go about the consequences of felt skepticism and wrongful decision. We have policy keeping only the last 2 years of Rebirth Flames usage logs and ability reset logs. Anyone who's like pissed that there isn't 10 years of compensation, like, I don't know what you guys want. You expecting a game of this size to keep the logs of every single thing that happens for 10 years? That's not gonna happen, dude. I don't know if you've ever worked at an actual company, had an actual real job. But surely you must have. If you're a whale dropping thousands of dollars a month, you must have an actual job. Like, you don't keep logs of like 5, 7, 10 years of like small transactions. Like, that's not possible. The amount of data storage you need for all of that stuff is insane. Would have been correct to create a compensation plan using the entirety of the affected time period, but it would be impossible to determine past usage due to physical limitations. Exactly. We apologize for not informing you about this. Oh, they apologize again. From the development team's point of view, we decided that we have kept logs for the last 2 years, and if compensation was given after a thorough investigation, we have done the best job that we can. In addition, if we compensated... But therefore, since you know that it's a fuck-up, you know you didn't properly do, you know you misled, you know you can only compensate for 2 years, you need to do at least those 2 years plus something on top of it. 100%. You need to throw something else on top of that to retain... the players and their confidence. Yeah. On top of an apology and on top of the best compensation you can do that is reasonably truthful. Additionally, we compensated for all the Rebirth Flames used in the last 2 years at the same time as lowering the difficulty of additional options. We expected a significant change in value of items. Yeah, but that's because you artificially lowered the value of items now based on the same amount of money in because you weighted the odds. So that's on you. That's not on the fix of the thing. That's on you. But there could definitely be something to be said just by like flooding the market with items. Now, of course, this is 100% a non-reboot issue, right? For reboot, we just get a bunch of flames. We can upgrade our own stuff, and we just get stronger, and then that's it. But in non-reboot, you'll have a bunch of you know, flames flooding the market. You'll have flaming servers being sold. You'll have the value of items that can be that can start fluctuating like crazy. That can give like unsettlement in the market and the value of items in the market, which yeah, there'll be a huge influx. So you would have to like phase that in, and yeah, there's definitely a legitimate concern there. We wanted to minimize this change in value of the compensation, so we decided to compensate 10% of the usage after February 25th, based on the number of points given out. If they were to be traded in for Eternal Rebirth Flames, the total number would be 250,000 tradable flames and 7.28 million untradable flames in KMS. Based on the account that receives the most points, they would be able to get 1,086 tradable flames and 156 untradable flames. In order to mitigate the temporary shock of the compensation was given at a 100% rate, which is 10 times the amount stated above. Oh, 10 times the amount. They don't say 10 times more. They got it. We misjudged it. Sad that I have to be like happy that they don't fuck up, but the misjudged the appropriate amount should be given on the total amount and the highest amount instead of the average amount. Appropriate should be given based on the total amount and the highest amount instead of the average amount. Wait, does that mean they're going to adjust it? Also, we give a lot of thought to rebirth flames, which were using an enhancement method called flame service. Yeah, exactly. With flame service, there was a problem that the number of cases would be increased, but the number required data investigation and compensation would be considerably increased. We also informed users not to use this type of service with various notices, so we were worried that it would be incorrect to compensate for actions like this, and users would think that we would be biased towards customers with high item specs called heavy users. Well, called whales, but difference in difficulty for each main stat was not taken into account. There was a difference in difficulty in the order of strength, dex, int, and luck, but we made a mistake in deciding compensation for the same level of rewards. That's something I heard as well before, because they were like, okay, we're just going to compensate people based on how many flames they used, but the thing is, you said that there was weight towards the stats and the all stat and everything, but those weights weren't equal, so should you be compensating luck and int users, I think, more than strength and dex users who had it better the whole time rather than int and luck. We apologize for not taking it into account, focusing only on the relationship between all stat and jump. That's also because that relationship that you saw in the previous video, that was the biggest relationship between stats among all of them. It jumped out like crazy. That correlation, I think, was 2 or 3 times as high as all the other ones. So finally, there was a lack of response of the usage of the ability error. Since we did not respond to the ability, error was found. Oh, this is inner ability, right? Honor experience. There's a great sense of loss for customers who had used a lot of effort and money to get their desired ability options. Again, this is very different from non-reboot, because most of you guys watching and everything, and in chat as well, are in reboot, and we just like, oh, we just buy circulators, right? And then we just roll with honors, whatever. But in non-reboot, this is like, the access to circulators is way, way, way less, and you have to go pretty hard into money and NX and everything to... just starting a bits ranking of March 2020. Congrats on the 1-bit, dude. Yeah. At the time, because we were confusing state due to the test world update, we were not able to understand the effects of the sudden error correction, and we thought that it would be the wrong decision to have an immediate maintenance, which would aggravate the situation. Currently, in-game, there remain ability options that were easily acquired through recipes. Yeah. If we kept them as is, we think it would be difficult to recover the sense of loss of customers who overcame the high difficulty and acquired good ability options normally. Therefore, we would find a solution. So basically, this means that some people found that if you have a certain first line and a certain third line in your inner ability, and then you roll, the chance of getting a specific other line in the leftover line was way higher. So some people would lock in a certain second and third line. I think it was like strength and all stat or something. I don't remember exactly. You can find the videos, and then the chance, if they locked that and rolled it, the chance that they would get attack speed +1 on the top line was instead of the normal like 1% chance or something, it was literally above 25%. They rolled it like 40 times and got it 15 times or something. It was insane. The changes were crazy. So they found for a lot of the reasonable stats that people want a lot, like 38% buff duration, 20% crit rate, attack speed +1, for all of those, they found out the recipes, quote unquote, where you can lock certain stats and get the other ones very, very easily. Now that was overcompensated and made those stats too easy to get, but the base line of where it was in KMS and where it is in GMS now is too low, because they're using the same system as with Flames, where they have certain stats interconnected to make it harder to get those good outcomes, those desirable outcomes. So in the same way this was rigged as the same way that Flames were rigged, basically. So that's why there's compensation for Flames and for iterability, and we're still looking into other RNG effects, which we don't know if it just means random or it means weighted random, if they actually are weighted random or not, if they're using the same logic as this system. So that's why people are like testing cubing and testing where you kill the boss, if that affects which items drop from it and stuff like that you might have seen. That's why that's all being investigated right now in KMS, and it seems like they're unearthing more and more uneasy results, things that they didn't want to see, basically. Currently, given the remaining ability options that were easily acquired through recipes, if we kept them as therefore we will find a solution to give more information as soon as possible. In the end, the previous notice gave us unsatisfactory compensation plan without any valid minimum explanation of our intentions, the expected Q probability reveal, and what the future plan would be, which was very disappointing from the customer's point of view. We want to sincerely apologize to customers who were hurt by us making wrong decisions, one after another, and we are currently completely reevaluating the compensation, which probably means that GMS's compensation will probably also be reviewed, maybe? Or maybe we didn't complain hard enough and we might just still get the old compensation. Because that's 100% what it comes down to. If you get a compensation and you just like lay down and take it, they'll give it to you. And I mean, it's basically a negotiation, right? But if you're like, no, fuck this, you get a protest truck, you start like selling off your gear, you start dipping and just ditching hardcore, then they're gonna be like, whoa, come back, we can do better, we can do more. It is possible, because I didn't see this level of outrage, definitely saw some, but not this level of outrage in GMS. So it is possible that GMS is going to just continue with a regular compensation. Now, I must say that it is very different, because the balance between reboot and non-reboot players in KMS is the other way around and much more extreme than it is in GMS. In KMS, there are 2 Maplestory servers, but they're 2 reboot servers, but they're way smaller than the non-reboot servers. And in GMS, it's the other way around. And I think where you come from, the server, I think that really heavily colors how you see this whole system. It's still bad in both situations, but it's not nearly as bad from a reboot perspective, I think, than from a non-reboot perspective. And that's probably why they need to do more in KMS than they might have to do in GMS. So I don't think it's necessarily unfair that the compensation will change, because I think the biggest part of the compensation that they should change and increase is that they should increase it for the non-reboot part players than for the reboot ones, in my opinion. But you can disagree, of course. GMS will get a baby box instead of a big baby box instead of a small one. Damn. Wow, I think I should change servers now. I want to do were hurt by us making wrong decisions one after another. Blah, blah, blah. Oh yeah, apart from this compensation reevaluation, we would like to increase the supply of black rebirth flames in-game to reduce the risk of resetting additional options. So yeah, for the people who don't know, the black rebirth flames are essentially eternal rebirth flames in quality, but you have the chance of keeping the previous results if you don't like the new outcome. So they work like in Reboot the interoperability circulators, essentially. Like you get a new outcome, you want to pick the new one, or you want to keep the old one. Essentially like that, but the quality of an eternal flame. And these black rebirth flames are typically, no, they're only found in big event shops in like summer or winter updates. That's the only place where you can find them. We know that we cannot easily restore the once broken trust. True. It is also true that we fear that we might never be able to recover this trust. It is already too late, but from now on, we promise to make changes to so customers can play Maplestory with trust. Damn, reading is hard. We think that the starting point is to clearly explain and apologize for our wrongdoings to our customers. Yes, apologizing by saying you're sorry. Ha! Never gonna get that last kick. Not get that last kick in, guys. We know that we cannot ask for forgiveness with just a verbal apology, however, to correct my mistakes. I think this is the least I can do. And I apologize once again. Okay. Now, the development team is preparing to listen to the true voices of our customers and correct any mistakes. We're preparing to complete re-evaluation of the compensation for the current additional option system, reorganization and ability error, additional compensation for disappointing customers, Q probability reveal, and other information records that will eliminate further anxiety or doubts about Maplestory. Yeah, so they're including here other RNG systems, possibly weighted RNG systems, to make sure that they make all of that transparent from now on, so that this doesn't come, that 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, it doesn't come out that they were fucking this other system up for many years as well, and then they have to start compensating and apologizing for all of that. We will prepare and release this by March 5th at the latest. I'd like to apologize once more for my mistakes, which have disappointed those who have cared about Maplestory. I will do my best to correct my mistakes and make Maplestory a game that can be trusted by everyone. I hope the customers who have kept love for Maplestory in their hearts for a long time will not lose hope just because of my wrongful decisions and actions. I apologize sincerely here. This is almost like an apology. I mean, it doesn't say the word sorry, but it doesn't have to. But I feel like this is the closest we've gotten to an actual apology. Saying I apologize doesn't do shit for me. Saying I'll do my best to correct mistakes and make Maplestory a game that can be trusted, and I hope, you know, like that's actually like an apology, I would say. But I don't need the word I apologize, right? It doesn't add anything unless you actually do. And I think that he does here. But this feels so empty without this, right? So now it gives some context, but you have to wait a holy wall of text before we can get to it. So there is something there. So yeah, how do you guys feel about all of that? That's he's putting his head out there. Well, his head is out there, right? Because he's a director. But yeah, he definitely has to. Is the fact that they call players customers a good or a bad sign? Again, that might be a translation thing. I think it's a good sign. Someone who's a whale is not even. I mean, it's not even like a customer. That's like a gold member or something. Or I mean, it's like a MVP red member, right? You're not even. I don't think you're like a regular customer at that point. You're like an honors customer who should basically get a pass that they could just walk into Nexon HQ. Like if you get MVP red, you should get some kind of access code that you can walk into like a guided tour through Nexon, like one that are held once a week or something. You should be able to just do that if you're MVP red. You know, like it's kind of like the highest tier Patreon where you like mention people in the credits of your game or something. But in the end, a video game is a service, and if you buy goods or services from the game, you're a customer. Like in the end, that's the thing, right? You don't have to. You can't forget that this is like a business, right? Money goes in, money goes out, money gets paid, wages, there's profits. Like it's a company, it's a business, it's a service, it's a product, it's a good, right? You don't forget that at the end of the day. The other thing that was brought to my attention was a data sheet. I don't know. Let's just read this real quick, see where this is coming from. This is trying to map the probabilities of flame outcomes, of the new flame outcomes for Korean Maplestory, which would indicate that we could make some kind of distinction on outcome for flames. Wait, this takes into account my flame score indication. Uh-oh, guys, this is definitely going to be super. Okay, by Chandre. All right, he uses some of my numbers, but Chandre gets all the blame if this is wrong. Okay, I'm taking none of that. Data sheet lists a probability of expectation of getting certain flame score after the KMS update. After the update, all 4 types of stat become equivalent. The flame score calculated is for your own main stat. Strength main, you're blessed and do it now. Dex main, if you're aiming for high flame score, don't. If you're aiming for some decent flame for mules or temporary equips, do it. Int main, similar to Dex, but main, but the chance of getting decent flame is lower. Luck main, don't. Wait, I thought strength was already free before. Oh, this is about flaming before the update? Well, we'll see, I guess. The data of the current mechanism. Some assumptions are made for each option is chosen uniformly in the sections, and the sections are also chosen uniformly. That's for before. Oh, okay. Yeah, strength is still blessed, so still flame on luck don't. Yeah. Although they stated vaguely there are some weights for each option, but I think So strength will get worse. So you want to flame now. Well, will it get worse actually? I don't know. From the outcomes I saw, it seems that the correlation between all stat and strength will still get stronger. So I think if you're planning on spending a lot of money, it would still make sense to flame afterwards, I would say, but oh, thanks for the biddy, Shu. This is not an apology because everything is a mistake and the bug. It would have been an apology if they said we did it on purpose because we had bad values. Certain people have been punished for it. And we want to let the people voice their opinion. If they're actually in one region, it means... their perception of players is like those who can be scammed and kicked and they will come back. So many rotten roots need to be addressed. Yeah, I guess I agree that it would have made more sense if like at least one or two heads would have rolled over this, right? Because this is like a systemic problem within. But the problem is, wasn't Wonky the one who was part of the team that actually designed the flames back then and who knew about this the whole time? I think the only head that could have rolled to symbolically like really own up to all of this would have been his, I think. I don't know if anyone else's. Maybe in the Korean server there's like a lot more people that they know of within the system that would be like but I don't know if anyone's head rolling besides his own would have made any kind of impact there. I don't know. What do you think? Scardor's late game flame score definition is used in calculation. Yeah, so this would be for late game. So that means if you're aiming for like end game and getting like super giant flame scores, then it would be a little bit different. So the all stat would weigh more heavily. Depending on your class, it would weigh more heavily. Assumptions: 4 lines of bonus options are chosen at uniformly random manner. All bonus set options type will have equivalent rates after this maintenance. So that assumes that if you have a non-flame advantage item, it would be 25% chance for 1, 2, 3, or 4 outcomes as well. I'm thinking. For each line, its tier is independently chosen according to this probability. Okay, so we have wait, let me zoom in a little bit. Powerful 20% tier 3, 30% tier 4, 36% tier 5, 14% tier 6, and 0% tier 7. Okay, so 50% chance 4 or lower, 50% chance 5 or higher. And then Eternal is 0, 29, 45, 25, 1% of tier 7. Which, yeah, that pretty much makes sense with whatever is going on now, because it's really bad. So that's a 71% chance of tier 5 and higher versus a 50% chance. Yeah, tier 3 and powerful is just garbage. It should be completely removed. At 10% here, at 5% here, and 5% here. Just get rid of tier 3, in my opinion. But yeah. Further notes: non-flame advantage equipments are not calculated since the mechanism of choosing number lines are unknown. Okay, yeah. So they don't include the 25, 25. Okay, yeah. This, I feel, through all of this, this is information that has not been addressed at all. Like the percentage chance of getting 1, 2, 3, or 4 lines on non-flame advantage items. I think that's very important. Jet, fix your sleep time. Congrats on that, dude. We know that's not easy to do. What up, Ninzando? How you doing? Weapons are not calculated since the flame score of weapon is not defined. HP, MP. Well, technically we could define. No, not really. Actually, you could translate weapon attack to this, but it's still 2 variant. So HP, MP are not calculated. I'm lazy and do not play Kana. Well, I have a conversion for that as well that he could have used, but okay. So what it comes down to, using my numbers for late game again. So like for late game, end game, it's gonna be very different. So we're looking for flame scores late game. So we can check with we can put the numbers in there for now to give you guys what we're comparing to. So we like for the end of late game, we were looking for, right now we're looking for like 95. Like on your CRA stuff, you're looking for like 95. Your Abso stuff, 105 or higher. And then like around 40. It says 42 here, but like around 40 for the non-flame advantaged items, basically on your monocles, your Sweetwater stuff, your your superior stuff, your Golic stuff. So it seems, and that's kind of based on a percentage of the possible outcome and how many flames that would use, right? Because I mean, you know, there's the sky's the limit if you have infinite money, but there's a certain point where it would cost so much money and so many flames to upgrade it that you're probably gonna stop at a certain point. So the flame score calculates up to 220, you know, just just for shits and giggles. It seems like the probability is pretty low on that. Expected flames used to get 220 flame score seems to be about 129 billion flames. So that's probably not very realistic. So if we look at like the what item level is the 200? Oh yeah, okay. So 160 to 179 would be more realistic for most items. So if we're looking at like the 90 to 100 outcome, it seems here. Oh no, this is for each. Oh yeah, so we're looking at like 110. It seems like the expected flames to use here, the expected cost is about 1.7 bill. Or like a 1 in 80-ish, you know, like 78 flames to use on an item to get an outcome like this. It says everyone except Demon Avenger and then Strength Dex Attack. Dex Luck Attack. Before maintenance. Before update, okay. Oh, that's eternal and powerful. Okay, okay. So 181. Okay, 181, 182 flames per item after the update. And before the update, it's 124.8. Oh, wow. Okay, so that is... So it is actually a lot easier now. So if you're a strength user, you want to be flaming now. I'm assuming at the upper end it would get closer, but not really. Or at the lower end it'll get closer because percentage-wise. Yeah, those are eternal flames. Yeah, I read that wrong. So we're strength dex attack before the change. And at dex you're at 224, so it's an average of like 43, 42, 43, 247, 254. Yeah, so strength, if you... Wow, so if you were flaming for strength, you're actually getting nerfed pretty hard. That makes me think. Should I be flaming on someone? I guess I have a few strength users that don't have like very well flamed stuff. Yeah, so as a strength user, you're gonna see reduced probability by quite a bit, going from 0.8% chance of around this number to 0.55. So it's good that that's being brought in line, I would say. Look, to get to 90, wow, it's almost, it's a 60, no, a 33% reduction from 4.5% chance to 3% chance. That's pretty crazy. Strength is free. The one that I found though is for potential that strength was super free on intellect users. And that intellect was super free on strength users. I wonder if the inverse correlation there is going to be exposed at any point. Because I found that to be, when I was cubing, to be way more obvious than between flaming all my characters, that strength characters would get like the strength and all set way easier. Because like one of the luckiest characters I was on for flaming was the Ho Young, for example. But yeah, again, I did 47 characters though, like, so that's, I don't know, it's like an okay sample size, but it's still a pretty small sample size overall, so it's still, yeah. Is it better to flame weapons now? I think the damage percentage line and the boss damage percentage line were the speed and the jump. But this one doesn't include weapons. I have 4 15% strength items and that has a percentage luck line in the same position. They were all rank up cubes. Okay, that's weirdly coincidental. It's better to flame weapons now, I think. Yeah, this is just like approximation with like flame scores based on my thing that someone made. It seems like the chance of getting like yeah, if you're going for like 140 flame score on your arcane stuff and you're a strength user, looks like here the average flames here is like 474 and then goes up to 722. So, you know, this might be some advice for strength users if you hadn't dotted all your I's and crossed all your T's yet, to maybe get some flames in, and for everyone else to patiently hold on. Hold, guys. And it should be all fixed March 4th, I think. Wait, 5th? Wait, someone says 5th in the chat. Wasn't it March 4th that it should be flame scores to the moon? Yeah. It should be all fixed on March 4th, and then the compensation should be given on March 7th. But, sorry, March 10th. But we need to, well, we need to see if this change and apparently, and this message from Wonky Kang, if that's gonna, or Wonky Kong, sorry, if that's going to change the compensation for GMS as well. So if you guys wanted to, make your voices be heard. If you don't care, stay silent. Look forward to what you guys think about the apology, about what was said in it, what was said in the letter. If you agree, disagree with internal things in there, what do you think about the changes for the flame system, for equalizing it across the board? I think it's more fair. I mainly play strength characters. The fact that that is going down and all, I think that's probably fair. I can think on a certain level, maybe the fact that strength characters had an easier time with flames can make sense in scaling within the game if that's accounted for in other systems. What I would hope is that in some other systems, like let's say that in maybe in flaming we have an advantage, but then maybe in cubing we don't, or it's inversely correlated or something that compensates for it. As long as everything that is RNG based, make sure that all of it gets corrected so that it's all like equalized, then I'm 100% okay with it. I would be not okay with it, not because I mainly play strength characters, but just in general, if they correct part of it, but then at the other part of it that would counteract the imbalance, if that doesn't get corrected, then I would be, again, not okay with it, right? So as long as it's a holistic approach and all of it gets appropriately weighted, or unweighted, I guess I should say, then it's all fine by me. You know, as long as eventually it leads to a more fair outcome, more fair, predictable outcome across the board for all the classes, I'm for it. But yeah, as you said from my previous video, when it comes to like accountability for Nexon and how I feel like how we should treat Nexon because of all of this, I'm still really conflicted about all of that. But I'm seeing a lot of shared opinions on the YouTube videos, so I'm really happy that there is that debate and there is that thought going through with all of you guys, where you're really thinking about like who's culpable, what should happen, how do you feel about all of this. So I'm really happy to see all of that thought coming from you guys. So don't shy away from your opinion. Throw your opinion in the comment section and just let me know. And look forward to reading it. And I'll see you guys in the next one.